Good morning, everybody. This is John Chester, Operations with Southwest Team 2. And with that, you notice that there's a different name change there, and that's Southwest Team 2. So Southwest Team 2 has transitioned with California Incident Management Team 5 at 0700 this morning, and so they will be in command of the incident moving forward. They are predominantly very familiar with the area. They've been previously on the incident as the management team here. So they're familiar with the area and the concerns for the communities and the incident. So welcome Southwest Team 2. And with that, we'll get started with starting with the overview of today's events for the South Zone. So starting up here near the branch breaks of the South and North zone breaks, we'll be starting. We've added another repair group. So up in this area, the second repair group will start working their way from the zone break to the south towards Las Vegas. First repair group coming from the Big Pine area, working their way in towards Las Vegas there on the 65 corridor and out of the Big Pine area. So those are two focal points that we got going on there. And with the repair group, what they will be doing is they're, as mentioned before, they're trying to correct the actions that have occurred with the suppression over the previous weeks that have used to halt the progress of the fire. So like for an example, dozer lines that have been pushed in, when they push that material out of the way, we come back in and pull that stuff back over the dozer lines to prevent erosion and limited use where we shouldn't be driving and or riding ATVs and things of that nature. So getting that stuff corrected, reseeding in areas where that is necessary or needed, chipping all the down slash that has been maybe left around residences in a place where we don't want those fuel loadings to be accumulating again. So repair work is beginning and will be occurring throughout the weeks to come. Fire suppression wise, up in Big Pine, this area back up in here again, that continues to occur where the fire was backing down off the ridge towards the structures up of Big Pine. They continue to mop up and secure those lines around the structures, preventing any further fire activity in that area. As we come back down around the southeastern edge, just south of Las Vegas here, and we progress across the 283, continuing to answer calls for service that folks call in if they see maybe a smoke that may be a little bit interior to ensure that those smokes are not a threat to the containment lines that are existing and have been in place for a while now. Coming across the Mineral Hill, as mentioned before as well, there was some of those heat signatures that are picked up, and it's kind of covered up here on the map. But that again goes back to possible things like generators or people, in the cooler nighttime having fires in their wood stoves. And as that stuff gets picked up, we do actively investigate those and send people out to make sure that nothing new has occurred and the lines are still secured. Coming across to Bereas Peak area, where the activity, over the previous weeks has been very active there on the southwest corner, continuing to mop up and strengthen those control lines. A lot of good hard work has gone into extinguishing those hot spots along the lines so that we can start allowing the communities of Lower and Upper Colonias, those have been repopulated. Folks have been able to go back into those due to the hard work and the efforts that have occurred on this southwest corner over the previous shifts. With that, as we continue up along the western fire edge here, good work has occurred coming off of what we call this Hellespot 125 down into Bull Creek up to the Skyline Trail. That work has continued. Very good efforts have gone into getting that hand line constructed up to Skyline Ridge and then progressing to the north from Skyline Ridge up to Elk Mountain. A lot of good work has occurred and those lines are holding, and we expect them to be tested over the coming days with the change in the wind pattern coming from a potentially eastern component. So we're confident that those will hold, and a lot of good work is done in there and continuing to be done in there. So as we continue on up to the Snowtail area, this is where we become a little more indirect with our fire lines. That area, we're still working on improving those lines and strengthening those lines as they come across over to the Torero community, and then the lines that go to the north there up into Cowles. The Spring Mountain area, this is the area we've been talking about up in here quite a lot with the recent fire activity. That's where you're seeing the continued growth on the incident. We haven't really talked about the last few days, but we do continue to have aerial support up in those areas, dropping on that active fire edge when we can do that with the wind conditions. So you see the scoopers back in action up in there. Helicopter drops may be occurring back up in there, and basically what we got going on is we're trying to slow that fire's edge down as it continues to back down into the areas of Bull Creek, and making that progression towards the hand lines that we got coming up the Hamilton Mesa area. So when we can fly, we're able to get our aviation resources up there to continue to do those water dropping missions to slow that fire's edge down. As we come over here up into the Hamilton Mesa, those hand lines are in, coming up into what we call Beatty's Camp. And from Beatty's Camp, progressing to the north to the divide up there, that work is still ongoing. We're looking for places where we can get those lines put in to take advantage of fuel terrain and fuel features that would allow us the greater success for holding that if the fire was to progress to that area. Up in that area, so again, going back to what they're doing up there, is they are focusing on cutting down the down and dead, the blowdown that we've talked about, removing that from what we would consider the fire's edge in the future, scraping the soils down to mineral soil, getting all the burnable vegetation out of that area so that when the fire gets to that point, it would stop and it wouldn't have that ability to continue to spread to the west. Communities, like as we mentioned last night, we have allowed, or working with the Sheriff's Department, some repopulation and some of the evacuation statuses to go from a go to a set, and from a set to a ready in the lower Colonias, upper Colonias areas. And there's, you'll notice the new roadblocks out there kind of highlight the areas now where we don't have folks going back up into there. Also, a thing of pretty significant importance that people are probably aware of is last night around 18:30 or 6:30 p.m. time, there was a new start in the Cowles area. We were just getting ready to do the shift change and put new resources out on the line, and so we were able to make a pretty quick response to that area. And with that, the folks that responded to that incident out there were able to contain pretty quickly that incident out there. Between 5 and 7 acres is the report that I heard. So a lot of good work, speedy work went into catching that, and certainly was beneficial to the community of Cowles and Geronimo. So good work was in place there for last night to catch that fire. Yeah, I think for what we got going on, today's operations, just so folks are covering on that, it is the continued work in here, checking the action up here with the aviation assets, and continuing to scout for opportunities to put the line up into the zone branch break with the north zone. So making plans to coordinate with those folks so that we can have a good tie-in from both the north zone and the south zone to get a good firm area to prevent the fire from progressing to the west up in that area. So with that, we do appreciate the comments, the questions that come in, so continue to do that. Additionally, the information hotline that you guys can call between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. If you see something and you want to report it, call that number. They can get in touch with our communications, and then we can get people to respond to the reports of smokes or issues that you guys might be finding along the fire edge, where it's especially over here in the Las Vegas and Progressive North areas, where it's a little less, the lines have been in and more secure. So as you see things that continue to pop up, please call that. Additionally, after those hours or outside those hours, you've heard the sheriff talk about, feel free to call the 911, and their dispatch centers will get in contact with ours, and we can send that response through that way as well. So we appreciate those calls and those comments. Keep them coming, and As always, if there's questions, send them in. We're happy to answer.